What is happening, webheads? Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer. Hopefully everyone is having a wonderful Mother's Day and is spending some time with their mom. Or if you couldn't, send them a card or wish them a happy Mother's Day. And hopefully you find time to check out this video, because this video is something a little bit different. But I usually help you make decisions on what comic books to buy. So if you like that kind of thing, make sure you subscribe to the channel. But today, we're going to be talking about other things besides comic books, right? You guys will get to know a little bit more about me. Obviously, you know, I am Mike Spider Slayer. I collect comic books. I talk about comic books on YouTube. It's been a thing that I've done since I was 11 years old. I would go to the comic shop, read comics, had no one to talk to with them, and then eventually I got old enough and YouTube came out, and I share my passion and my love for comic books with you guys, and that is my favorite thing to do. But I want to share the other things that I love to do, and I want to know in the comments below, what do you guys like to do besides read comics? Because that's mostly what I hear from you guys. Oh, I like this comic book. I agree with you, Mike Spider Slayer. I like this and I like that. But I want to know what you guys like. So let's talk about it, okay? So one of the things I like ever since I was 9 years old was I loved football. I started throwing a football, and that was my first love when it came to sports, right? Oh yeah, I'm going to play football when I was a kid, right? And then I got older, and I'm only 5'6.5", and I weigh 150 pounds, and that was never going to happen. And so that's how I wound up getting into tennis. And a lot of you guys know, for my living, I do teach tennis. That's how I support my family. That's how I do this YouTube channel and all those different types of things. But when it comes to football for sports, that is my passion. I love football. I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan. I wear this necklace. I know a lot of you guys have seen it, made comments before. And sorry, all you New England fan, Buffalo fans, New York Jet fans out there. I'm just true Miami Dolphin fan since 1984, when I was 9 years old. That was the last time Miami went to the Super Bowl. I bet my dad $5 that the Dolphins would win the Super Bowl against San Francisco, and I think I was cursed ever since then, because they got their asses blown out. And I told my dad, you know what? They're going to get back to the Super Bowl, and they never did. I have been waiting since that day, guys. I'm just as passionate about the Miami Dolphins as I am as my comic books. If I was to ever do a live stream and you watch me watch a Miami Dolphins football game, I would be cursing up a storm. They would freaking demonetize me. My channel would be canceled, because that's how passionate I am about these Miami Dolphins. So football is a huge thing for me. Every season it comes around, I am glued to that TV set. I just love football in general. I love college football as well. And this may not be a fan favorite, but I am a fan of USF football. My wife went to college in USF, and they were the team that I started following, and I follow them today. Not the biggest school, but I do follow them. So when it comes to football, there's that, okay? So is there any other sports I'm super duper passionate about? No, but I do follow other sports. I did go to a lot of Florida Panther games when I was younger. They would be considered my favorite hockey team. My favorite basketball team would not be the Orlando Magic. It would be the Miami Heat, because I grew up in South Florida. And yeah, and there's that. You know, I don't like baseball. No offense to fans of baseball out there, but I think baseball is boring as hell. It's just like watching paint dry for me. I know it takes like forever for pitchers to pitch that freaking ball and to a guy to get on a base. I've been to one professional baseball game my entire life, and I just couldn't stand it. But that's just one of those things, right? Okay, so there's when it comes to sports. Now, I want to know in the comments below, what do you guys do? Do you guys like sports? Whether it's, regular sports, whether it's skateboarding or, something completely different. You could ride a bike. I don't know. Just let me know in the comments below. Just giving you a little insight of what's going on. So besides collecting comic books, are there anything else that I have collected over the years? Absolutely, guys. I have my original Star Wars action figures. I still have those, guys. I've collected Legos at one point. Like, I had some Legos. You guys seen that I've collected some statues and some omnibuses in the past as well. But when it comes to mainly collecting things, I guess it would have to be the comic books. That's basically what it is. All right, so let's talk about video games. Now, if I wasn't into comic books, I think I would be playing more video games. And how I got into comics when I was younger was a friend of mine who was, at the time, we were like 12, 11 years old, 13, and he got me into comics. But then as I got into my early 20s, I jumped out of comics, and then I started really getting into video games, where I was playing PlayStation, Nintendo 64, obviously Super Nintendo. I played NES. I've played it all. Like, I've been part of the golden age of video games. You know, when I was a kid, I played Pac-Man and all that shit. So, like, I've played a ton of video games. And when I stopped playing a lot of video games was when my son was born, and I had to take care of him and everything else. And I was like, man, I don't have time to play these long ass games. Like, I used to play Halo. I used to play everything, man. And then I was like, well, what can I do that's quick or I can put down? And I was like, oh, let me get back into comic collecting. So that's how I got back into comic collecting and started reading again. And then I got into the YouTube videos and everything else. But when it came to video games, I used to love them. Some of my favorites, Madden, right? I grew up to all those Madden games. Another one is Super Metroid, one of my favorite games as well. And all the most recent ones that I've played with my son. And then I've also played like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and regular Punch-Out is another favorite game. If I would have to go with like super modern games that I have sat down and kind of watched with my son play, I would say God of War, because I played the older God of War games and the new ones are absolutely brilliant. So I think that is a lot of fun. The Dark Souls games are pretty intense as well. I introduced Resident Evil to my son, and we have sat down and played all those Resident Evil games, every single one of them. Mega Man, oh my gosh, that game has freaking drove me crazy over the years, and my son played every single one of them. And of course, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, and all the other games that followed. I mean, you name it, I've played it growing up, and it's nice to sit down with my son and watch him play all these games, and great stuff, man. So yeah, I think if I wasn't collecting comic books or reading comics, doing YouTube, I would probably be playing more video games at this point, but my son mostly plays them, and then if I have time, I sit down and I watch him play them. All right, so let's go to movies now. So when you talk about movies, my favorite movie for the longest time, because it impacted me as a kid, was Empire Strikes Back. I saw Star Wars, but I was really young when it was in the theaters. But Empire Strikes Back, when I was a kid, that shit hit me hard, man. The whole I am your father thing, Boba Fett, like, dude, that set me up to be the geek that I am today. That made me collect all the Star Wars action figures. That made me just get into this whole world of science fiction, right? So I thank Star Wars for that. But then when we had the Marvel movies come out, and we started with Iron Man, and it led to the Avengers, and just everything that just came together, that movie universe, that shit just blew my mind. It just, like, out of all the years of comic book reading and stuff like that, and to just see that just fulfill on the movie screen, it's just like, oh my gosh, it just blew my mind. And my favorite movie, Marvel movie, would have to be the Endgame movie. The Infinity War movie. Endgame would be my second. Just seeing Thanos gather all the stones and just actually be in control of everything and seeing the villain win, I love that, because you don't see villains win very often, and what makes good stories is good villains. And seeing Thanos come on top at the end and all those heroes disappear, I was like, oh my gosh. And it's just based off of Infinity War is just insane. The comic series, I loved it, man. I absolutely loved it. And it's kind of a shame seeing the decline of the MCU since COVID and since those movies. But yeah, very, very rough. But that definitely is my favorite movie out of all time. So if you look at cartoons now, my favorite cartoon ever would have to be the X-Men. X-Men, the original series, was phenomenal. Some of the stories that they told back then was great. So now having X-Men 97 come out is just icing on the cake. And the way that shit hits you is tough, man. I would say, honestly, that is my favorite cartoon as of right now, followed by Invincible, which is really good to see that hit the screen as well. And then I would say probably Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, then the 90s Spider-Man series. Because Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends is higher because I was a kid, and that really introduced me to Spider-Man and got me into the character. And honestly, my first crush, superhero crush, was Firestar in that show when I was a kid as well. So I really love that show. And but X-Men is great. I mean, the storytelling was awesome. It just went in line with the 90s comic books and just phenomenal, right? All right. So last thing, let's go into comic books. What is probably my favorite or most anticipated comic that I ever wanted to buy or most excited about ever? That had to go to, it's pretty much a tie with Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man issue 1 and X-Men, what is it, is it 281 or whatever, with the separation of the teams when Jim Lee was on it. I was never so excited for a comic in my life. Those two were amazing. And I just remember as a kid, the line for those comics, the people were so excited for them. And I was too. Not even caring about if it was going to be worth money. I just loved the artwork, not even caring who did the artwork or if it was a number 1. I just knew that it was the newest Spider-Man, the newest X-Men. The artwork was explosive and in your face. I absolutely loved it. It was just a blast, guys. Absolutely loved it. If you look at a modern day thing that I was most excited for, I would say New 52, because I most recently got into comics once again in 2007, 2008, and I think, was it 2011 when the New 52 came out? So when that stuff hit the store shelves and I never was into DC, that was a perfect jumping on point. I know a lot of people will say, well, that was when DC ended for me and I stopped reading DC. But for me, it got me into these characters and it was just a perfect jumping on point. So for new readers, it was perfect. For old readers, maybe not so perfect, right? But that was a modern day event that I was really excited for. So, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit about me, guys. I mean, there's other things besides comics, right? Movies, TVs, comics, sports, and hopefully you enjoyed this. It's just something a little bit different because you guys usually see the normal everyday series that comes out. You don't always get a chance to see who I am as a person, right? And how I am in those videos is truly how I am in real life. I'm a pretty passionate guy. I am really down to earth. I might be shy when I come to you face to face at first, but if we have something in common, I can talk to you for hours. So there you have it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, leave me comments down below. I want to know more about you guys as well. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And as always, guys, I'm going to leave you more content right here for you to click on. And of course, always remember to support the local comic shops, keep reading, keep collecting, and remember, if you read those comics, we can have great comic conversation. Guys, have a wonderful Mother's Day. I'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye.